Hello and welcome to another episode of Copy That. I'm your host, Twilla Amin, and today our guest is Jonathan Aubrie Lewis. I'm so happy that you're here with us today.
Yeah.
Yes. Tell us a little about yourself. What it is that you do.
My name is Jonathan Aubrie Lewis. I'm a director, writer, and most recently I added producer to that as well. I'm going to start producing more.
Okay.
So I am a director, and I think my first love is probably directing. Writing is definitely something that I learned as a kid and discovered as a kid, and been doing that ever since. Mainly director, writer.
Okay.
Most recently.
And now triple threat.
Triple threat.
I am here for it. Well, today we're communing over tea. We have green tea, and this looks really good. I'm looking forward to cheersing. Is that a word? Can you cheers?
I think so. Yeah.
Okay, we're
Absolutely.
doing it today.
Okay.
So I just want to get back, before we go all the way in it, hear a little bit about your background. I know you're from SoCal. You have a love for movies. What is it that got you wanting to work in this industry?
That's a great question. Great intro question for sure. It's always good to start, back in the beginning. And I think with me, the reason why I'm in this industry, I would single-handedly probably say, probably my grandmother. She was she was a huge movie buff. And I spent a lot of time at her house, just her watching me, her watching my sister and I. And that was just a pastime for us. It was a bonding time. It was a time where I felt in control. I didn't have a whole lot of control in my actual house because my dad's a pastor, my mom was a first lady and stay-at-home mom and all that stuff. My grandfather was a pastor as well. On my dad's side, and so they were kind of the quintessential kind of strict conservative, black parents, and so I didn't have much say so in that household. But at my grandma's house, she allowed me to kind of I did whatever I wanted, kind of, I had free range.
That was a bit of freedom for you.
A bit of freedom,
yeah.
And part of that freedom included taking the remote and just grabbing it and flipping from channel to channel.
Yeah.
And I think it started with TV movies at first, and then it kind of moved into just grabbing VHS movies. Back then it was VHS.
The VHS.
But grabbing VHS movies and it's funny. A lot of the movies that I probably was watching at the time, I probably shouldn't have been watching, but she just allowed it. I think she knew that I liked the TV.
Yeah.
That's what she knew.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And I think that, and I also think that she knew that being at her house, it was freedom. And so she allowed me to kind of be able to just watch.
That's so good. Yeah.
And so it started with her, and then it kind of moved on with my parents too, because then I would come home and I was just crazy about the TV. It also helped that they also love TV. They also love TV and movies, and that's a pastime for them. I didn't grow up listening to a lot of music, even though I love music now. Music wasn't a big thing for us, but it was all about movies. It was the TCM channel. It was Betty Davis, and, and Clark Gable and Ruby Dee and Sidney Poitier. Diane Carroll, all the classics.
Was it more escapism or entertainment? What do you think it was?
I think in the beginning, it was just me. It was me watching. I think back then, my parents, my mom in particular, she referred to those films as wholesome films.
Got it. Yeah.
So she allowed me to just free range. I could watch as many of those as I could.
Okay.
As many of those because they were older films.
Right.
And they were wholesome. Right.
Until you really start watching.
Until you watch some of those films, right? Some of them films was they're talking about some crazy stuff, But yeah, I mean, it was free range to kind of watch those types of films. And I think, because they didn't allow me to watch, I couldn't watch, I couldn't watch, they wouldn't let me watch BET or MTV or, VH1, because that was the music videos and stuff like that. So I couldn't watch that stuff. So So yeah, so I was able to watch a lot of those wholesome films.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I devoured them, and they loved them.
Yeah, and that's
know?
good, and that's a good basis for like, because that's what we call like the classic era of television. So, or film, and you're watching like the rules and like the foundational parts of what you need about storytelling and what film is and how, you know. So that's a really good era and wholesome films that taught you a lot about filmmaking, I think.
It taught me everything. I mean, I think before I even knew I wanted to be a director, you know, like before I had like actually verbalized it, I think subconsciously it was already there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I was always one of those kids. I was always a deep kid. You know, I was always one of those kids that I felt for the characters. I understood what they were going through. You know what I'm saying? And I always kind of joke about like, joke about being a very serious kid with my sister, because I'm like, man, I was so serious as a kid, you know. And I don't know. I mean, I think that's just the way that God made me. God made me I'm not a serious person, but He did make me with a lot of depth.
Yeah.
And and I'm able to. I don't know. I just appreciated those films and understood them and understood I love the soundtracks and just all of it. It was just,
oh man, like
you're absorbed. I absorbed it all.
That's
the
good.
Wardrobe, the production design, all of it.
Because some people just see what's on the screen, but it seems like you were able to take it layer and go through the mise en scène, if you will, and understand the sounds and the framing, and that's beautiful. I love that. Yeah. So again, you're from SoCal. I think when we've talked before, and you mentioned like, but you didn't really know like how to get in the movie industry, and like your mom was instrumental in trying to help you figure that part out. Yeah. Do you feel like, and then you went to Atlanta and then you came back, do you feel like as part of that journey on figuring out, I think, I'll put it this way, I think being a person who's not from SoCal, you always assume that, oh man, kids in California, they got it easier because they have been around this, and they know how to get into the film. They got one foot up, but it seems like that's not true. The older we get, that's not necessarily the case, because there's gatekeepers around and we don't always know people in the industry. Like for you being a person that grew up here, was there any chance that you got to see an actual set, or?
I think when you ask it that way, absolutely, I was. I wasn't able to see a set, but what I was able to do was, okay, so not only was I really into TCM films and all that stuff like that growing up, I was also, when I got a little bit older, I was into I started getting into music videos. I was sneaking and watching music videos. Yeah. And so
we both were.
What'd you say?
We both were.
Exactly. You know what I mean? Just sneaking and watching. I'll say this. The first music video, this little diversion, the first music video that I watched that I was just like completely awestruck at her brilliance was Maya, It's All About Me. That was I remember watching that video and being like, oh my, what am I watching? You know what I mean?
That's
and
just a good one.
Yeah. I mean, I remember I had one of my older cousins go and like sneak and buy the album for me, because I was obsessed with Maya, just obsessed with her. Anyways, but so music videos, I say all that to say that one of my favorite music videos when I was a kid was a director named Paul Hunter. Mm-hmm. And my dad knew. My dad was kind of the cool one out of the parents. My dad, he knew I was watching videos. Okay. But I think he just allowed me to kind of he was also kind of allowing me some freedom a little bit too. And Paul Hunter did everyone from Michael Jackson to Madonna to Aaliyah. He did one of my favorite videos by her called We Need a Resolution. Mm-hmm. And I never forget, somehow my dad found out that Paul Hunter went to Northridge University and was going to be speaking to kids. Okay. And he he somehow fandangled some tickets, got some tickets somehow. I'm not sure how. And we drove out to Northridge University. That was his alma mater, Paul's alma mater. And we went to go see him speak.
Wow.
And we were way in the back. It was like at least 1,000 people there to go to listen to him talk.
Yeah.
This is before his production company, Pretty Bird, and all that stuff. This is just him making music videos. And I remember, just being so excited to be there, hearing this black man talk about music videos, you know what I mean? And about cinema, you know? And I never forget my dad, hustled me up to the front, you know what I mean?
I love this, yeah.
To go meet him. And I can't even remember what Paul said, but he probably was just like, hey man, keep going. Something like that. You know what I mean? It was a million people trying to get his autograph and pictures and all that stuff like that. But that was, that was my only time. Really, it wasn't me being on set, but it did drive me forward.
Yeah.
And I will say this one other thing. Two other things. It was The Color Purple. That was a defining moment in my life as well. I was obsessed. I was just like, how do they do this?
Right.
Who's the person that's in charge, mom? What do they mean? How does this happen? And my mom was just like, I think they're called directors and blah 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 blah. And I learned about Steven Spielberg back then. That's when I found out about him and all of that. And then after I took that information, like, oh, this is a director. This is what a director does. My mom had me in an entrepreneur class as a kid.
Oh man,
a little entrepreneur class.
Okay,
and. It was a teacher named Mr. Gentry, black man.
With a Gentry last name, yep.
Yep. Okay. And he, I remember he was kind of asking the class, what do you guys want to do when you guys get older? You're as a business. And I was like, he came to me, and I basically wanted to be a director. And he was like, okay. He was like, let me do, he didn't even know. He was like, let me do some research on that. Because people were saying traditional things like, I want to be a plumber. I want to be a this. I want to be an accountant. I want to, things like that, or I want to have a business or whatever the case is. And I came, with, I want to be a director. And he was like, well, let me kind of get back to you on how to do that. And he really encouraged me.
Wow.
He really encouraged me to go down that path. So to answer your question, I don't come from, I'm not legacy.
Right.
There's no one in my family that has like done this before. But I did have a lot of people around me as a kid that did encourage me, as well as my parents.
Right.
They encouraged me. They did. I think they thought it was a fluke and maybe thought that I wouldn't do it.
Just
but they did encourage me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? To kind of to watch movies and to go after this.
Yeah. That's really important. And I think it's something I'll say as we transplants, because, most people in this industry are not from here. But I do feel like, sometimes we make certain assumptions that it's easier for people who are here. But I just want, like, even for people who are from here and still trying to figure out how to get in the industry, it's not always necessarily easier. It doesn't mean that you still have the same struggle.
It has been tough.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, this past week was tough. How about that? So it's like, it's tough.
Right.
It's a tough industry.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think it's tough even if you have, backdoor connections and things like that. Like, you know what I mean? It's still tough.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So.
Yeah. Everybody has a different starting point, but you're going to encounter similar struggles or whatever, and you have to just stay in it.
Yep.
So you have an amazing short film out. I know you've done several short films. You've done commercial, and there's something else outside of commercial.
Just music videos.
Music videos.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
I was like, what's the word? Music videos. And I want to talk about how like you made that first leap into that, but I really want to like just let people know that there's this amazing film called Sojourn, and it's a short film, and it's a beautiful film. It's really beautiful. And when I finished watching it, the first thing I said to myself is like, I really appreciate directors with a true vision for what they want to see on screen.
Yeah.
And I appreciate, because sometimes I don't think people plan. necessarily their shots, or
Yeah.
think about like what the audio is going to be and how it matches up so beautifully, or symbolism, just things like that. And you put that thought into that. And I know you had to grow to that moment to be able to create that and find your voice. But I just wanted to take that time to let you know, like, I just was like, this is art. I love it. This is beautiful.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
That means a lot. I appreciate it.
Yeah,
Thank you.
absolutely.
Thank you for
Absolutely. So back to your directing to even get you to this path. Like, what was your first steps into the industry? You're out of college. Did you start in Atlanta because you went to Clark Atlanta in college?
I didn't start in Atlanta. So I'm going to look at the camera real fast.
Go ahead.
To everyone out there, my story has been like, it's been a very non-traditional approach to filmmaking and the journey of filmmaking. It has not been easy. It has been up, down, up the creek, passing this place, going to going down this cul-de-sac, a dead end feels like sometimes. It's been wild. But I have surrendered to the fact that that's just how it's supposed to be for me. That's how it is. That's how my journey is. And I'm gonna talk back to you now. Okay. But I just wanted to say that to the people.
Yes,
let people
that's
know.
important.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The people, because the people don't know. People be thinking it's like, it's one straight line, and it's so not. It's not. Sometimes I wish it was a straight line because I'm like, man,
you start here, then you do this, and then you do this. It's not always.
Sometimes I wish it was, our field was like an accountant. Like, okay, you do this, you do that, you do this, and then you're an accountant.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, and then you've been an accountant for the next 40, 50 years.
Right.
Perfect. But that's not how we're artists, and that's not how it is for us.
Right.
In particular, how it is for me. I feel like I'm like singled out or something. Anyways, I digress. But for me, I'm gonna back up just a little bit, even before like college. I think for me, so I think I grew up. Obviously, I told you I grew up in the church, and all of that, and church was great, but the church also did a number on me, and it was one of those places where I was talking to my therapist the other day, and I was saying how in a lot of ways as a kid, all the places I should have felt safe, I didn't feel safe. I didn't feel safe at school. I didn't feel safe at church, and I didn't feel safe at home at times because not with my parents. My parents were safe people. Sometimes when they wasn't spanking me. Anyway, but they were safe. But we had a time where we had some people staying at our house, and that was kind of a rough time. You know what I mean? Where I was kind of bullied and stuff like that. So I was at all three of these places where I should have been safe. I wasn't safe. All of this is important in laying the foundation because it's gonna all make sense in a minute. But I struggled as a kid, you know what I mean? I was always sort of ostracized. I was a queer little kid who didn't know really I was queer. And then once I discovered I was queer, I was like, oh wait, I can't be queer because I'm gonna go die and go to hell. And so it was all of that, you know what I'm saying? And mind you, I'm dealing with all this at like, I don't know, 11 and 12 privately. You know what I'm saying? Like, just like, dang, I'm a little different and I don't know if I can be different, and just all of that stuff like that. Being called gay by like my cousins and stuff, and you arguing at the family reunion. No, I'm not gay. It's like, it's just a lot. And so I think for me, like, me as a kid, I was a sad kid. Even, and film was what it was the only thing that gave me a lot of joy. You know what I'm saying? Just watching a movie. Yeah. You know what I mean? And escaping into these worlds that these people would make, right? And I think that when I got older, let's say to like 18, 19, 20, I ended up going to Clark or whatever. I was still very insecure, because those wounds don't go away. No. You grow up with them, and now you have to contend and kind of figure out why you tick the way you tick and all that stuff like that. So for me, being at Clark honestly was it was a beautiful time, but it was also a hard time as well. It was beautiful because I was able to kind of like, I found some friends who were like, yo man, you need to come out the closet. And I came out the closet. That was great, you know?
Yeah.
But then it was also really hard as well because I didn't know who I was. I didn't know who I was. I didn't know what I possessed, what God's given me. Matter of fact, back then I wasn't even Christian back then because, you know, I wasn't even into God. I don't really like the word Christian. I wasn't a believer.
Right.
That's a better word.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because I was just like, I'm over this. This is not, being a believer is not good. It's not, not good for me.
Right.
Whatever.
Right.
And so that was a good time. Clark was great, but it was also a rough time. After Clark, I had a lot of theory about film, but I didn't really know how to make a film.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
I was taking a lot of, classes about African American women and how they're portrayed in the media, how black men are portrayed in the media, things like that. You know,
all the theoretical
things. But okay, how do you turn a camera on though? You know what I mean?
Right.
No shade towards Clark. Clark is amazing. It's an amazing. If you want to go to Clark, go to Clark. It's an amazing place to be. But so then after Clark, I ended up going. I went to the Los Angeles Film School.
Okay.
I came back out here to LA to continue my education, and that's when I started learning how. I was like, oh, this is how you assemble a film. This is how you make a film from the beginning all the way to the end. You know what I mean? And I think when I left there, I definitely knew how to make a film. And I definitely started finding my own voice as a filmmaker. I was like, okay, I think I know my voice, a little bit or whatever. And I'm kind of gaining, momentum a little bit. But I was I was fearful. That's when anxiety really started to hit me. I was so fearful.
Yes.
And so I remember getting out of college, graduating, and all my friends were associates. They were going on to go work at this place, at this this house, this production house, this place. This person was going to direct such and such film or whatever the case is, and I was going back to work at a little shoe store because I was like, I was scared shitless. I didn't know.
What do you think it was?
I couldn't wrap my head around actually going out there outside of the school system and I'm gonna make a film now. Now it's time to go make. It's like I know how to make a film, but I don't know how to pitch myself or you know what I mean. Yeah. I just was very, very, very insecure. Right. Very insecure.
Yeah.
About my talent, about about it all. I was so directionless. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And mostly, I mean, I look back too, that was a rough time too, because, I love my dad, but my dad just didn't have he just didn't know. I needed my father to be like, hey man, to affirm me.
Right.
And he didn't know how.
Right.
And he didn't know how because he didn't know how to affirm himself.
Right. That's what we say. It's sometimes it's generational.
Yeah, it's generational. Yeah. He didn't know how to give it to himself. So I'm expecting this man to give me something that he can't and won't give himself.
Right.
I'm expecting my mom to give me something that she can't and won't. You know what I'm saying? And so I remember the whole foundation of this is that I'm a deep person. Yeah. And I don't say that pretentiously. I mean that in the sensitive way. I'm a very sensitive person. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? I'm very deep in that way, not trying to be, anything else, but I'm just sensitive.
Yeah.
And so I needed a lot of attention. I needed a lot of affirmation of hey man, you have something amazing. You can do this.
Right.
It's so funny how, we think that gaining skills, is the thing that we need. Right. And then we go get the skills and then we realize we still are lacking something.
Right.
And that's usually because we are not really dealing with the actual issue, which is a lot of it is a lot of times we're insecure about certain things. A lot of it is trauma from kid,
Right.
going back to childhood, that aunt that said that you were ugly or whatever. You know,
Whatever it
we
is,
all,
yeah.
you know, I mean, I remember for the longest, I wouldn't want to smile because I had an aunt tell me that I had ugly gums.
See?
You know what I'm saying? Like just, you know,
yeah.
and then one day I was like smiled at myself in the mirror and I was like, my gums are fine.
Who
You know what I
told
mean?
you? Yeah.
Yeah. You know, it's just little
Yeah.
things like that
And that stick with
that
you.
stay with you. You know what I'm saying?
Years,
That
yeah.
stay with you for
Yeah.
years. And I'm always one of those I'm one of those directors that, you know, people ask me all the time. They watch Sojourn and they'll be like, "Oh my God, how did you do this? How did you do that?" I'm not about to talk about technical stuff. If you want to talk to me, you're going to talk about real stuff. Because for me, in my opinion, people don't focus enough on the on the actual issues of, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you can be technically efficient all day and, you know how to use a red camera and know how to set your shots up and know how to get angles and blah, 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 blah. But if you are hurting, if you are deeply, if something is not right internally, it affects everything.
Yeah.
Your whole equilibrium is off.
That's so real.
You know
Like,
what I'm
there's so many
saying?
times that we just need to be validated, or you feel like you said, due to like certain traumas or
Yeah.
always like or experiences where you're just like, I'm not, and I come from a personal place of being like, I feel like I'm not good enough. So no matter what I know and how much I learn and how much I connect people, then sometimes it really just feels like no matter how much I give, it's not good enough. And that's from who said, like, you know, like all those people in the past.
I would even take it a step further and say that sometimes we are chasing the education and the academia because we don't know, like, because it's a shield. It's like, as long as I'm in school, in school or learning, I don't have to really show anything. I don't have to show
You just
people.
trust I'm learning.
I'm in learning. I'm in school, you know?
Yeah.
And I never forget, like, for a minute, it felt like I was going to be a full-time student because I was always in school. It was just like, you know what I mean? And so, yeah, but, you know, eventually, you know, I had, it's weird. I mean, I've had a very interesting space. So after I graduated the Los Angeles Film School, I ended up going to go work at a shoe store. All this talent in a shoe store, okay, right?
How many of those do we have? All this talent in a shoe store or on the streets?
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? In a shoe store, selling high-end European shoes that I couldn't even afford. But anyways, so doing that, and then eventually I had a stint where I was a flight attendant. I did that with an airline for maybe like a year and a half. And it's all going to come up to Sojourn, because Sojourn is where I discovered that film in the Friendly Skies.
Okay.
You know,
Wow.
being a flight attendant, you know, and I was up there. I had a friend that worked as a flight attendant. He told me, hey, you know, you should be a flight attendant so you can travel for free. And I'm like, great. And I love travel.
Oh, me too.
Love travel.
Me too.
I wish I could do it more. You know, and more often.
Yeah.
But you know, one day.
Yeah.
One day.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But yeah. So I ended up being a flight attendant, and I think that was when I really started realizing, like, that's the idea for Sojourn came to me.
Okay.
I feel like it was from God, you know.
Yeah.
All I kept seeing was this black guy who was traveling around from place to place, much like myself. You know, very meta. It was very meta.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And at the same time, I was meeting all of these. I used to work in first class and a lot, and I was always meeting professors or scientists or all sorts of people, celebrities, people like that.
Yeah.
And I'm one of those people. I'm a people person. I love people, and I love talking to people. I love learning.
Yeah.
And so I was always just inquisitive. I always was asking questions and things like that. And so I took all of that information, you know what I mean? Everything I learned, all the people that I learned from. And I really, I started putting it into film, and kind of like poetry. I was kind of playing around with poetry, writing in my journal. A lot of those things that I wrote in Sojourn, all of that stuff was like from a discarded journal that like I had written in, you know what I mean? And kind of like rediscovered and was like, oh, maybe I could kind of, if I piece this with that and this with that, maybe I could make, you know what I'm saying? And so like, it was just a really creative time, you know what I'm saying? And this, going back to the people, but this is why I say that, like, journey is so important. I'm a person of journey. Like, it's so important, and everyone has a different journey. It's, you got to honor your journey and honor your process and the journey that you're on, because all of that got me to right here, sitting on this couch. You know what I mean? So,
when did you become confident enough to like step out and be like, I am a filmmaker, I'm a director, I'm going to do this project? How did that happen for you?
Well, I would be remiss if I didn't give, God his due praise. But basically, I kind of just I realized that I needed something, and I was like, what was lacking was God. I'm like, I need some God. But then I started realizing, I'm like, I can have God in my way. It doesn't have to look like my parents or what they, it can be my own relationship,
Which is what it should be.
Which is what it should be. Exactly. You know what I mean? And so I think first things first, I got that in order.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? And then once I got that in order and I just started like building on that. I ended up working, my story is also, it's not only about journey, but a lot of my story is also about servitude. I've always been a servant, like, you know what I mean? And I get that from that's in my DNA. It's in my blood, because my dad's a pastor, my grandfather was as well, like I said. And so I've seen service. And so I say that to say that I was an assistant to an executive for like 6 years.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And while I made Sojourn. So I made Sojourn while being his personal full-time assistant, And I think that's when it really started hitting me. I started meeting all these amazing producers and DPs. I met Barry Jenkins, DP, James Laxton one day. And, it was just people that, like, I was at award shows and stuff with my boss, and I think I just started realizing, like, I can do this, like, you know what I mean? I was kind of like looking around, like, I'm like, I can do this.
You have to be exposed in those worlds.
Exactly. And on top of that, like, I was like, a lot of the clients were like these like white kids that were like, you would, go up to them and ask them, hey, so how did you make this film? And they didn't have anything to say. No depth, no nothing. Like, I'm saying to myself, so you ain't got no depth. You ain't got nothing to say in the Q&A.
Right.
And you were able to pull that off. I know I got more depth in my pinky finger than you got. And then, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, maybe I do got something to say. Exactly. So it was also just being around a lot of mediocrity as well, seeing that on full display. You know what I'm saying? Like, seeing it on like full display. These people are getting into Sundance and Tribeca and all of this stuff. I'm like, you know what I'm saying? No shade towards any of those they were able to do those people, or no shade towards any of those institutions, but like, it really made me kind of be like, I think I may be able to have something to say.
I think it's definitely seeing that and being like, okay, like, I'm the only one who's putting this bar of excellence on myself.
Right.
Like, it's like this unrealistic standard of what I have to be and what it is. And sometimes that causes paralysis. Like, you find yourself not moving forward or being able to create because you're just like, I have to be amazing to do this. And then you look around and you see other people are just doing it.
Yeah.
And
I still struggle with that sometimes.
Yeah.
I still struggle with the whole perfectionism a little bit. And, you know, we grew up as a pastor's kid. Anyone who's a pastor kid knows. PKs know. It's all about the way it looks. It's not about what's actually going on and what actually is happening. It's all about, it's just surface.
Yeah.
I love my parents. They know I'm not talking about them behind their back, but they a mess. And it's all optics.
Yeah.
And I grew up that way. Grew up like the way it looks, like presenting yourself in a way that is suitable, that is, you know what I mean? And so that sometimes can still it still lingers a little bit. Sometimes I can get very caught up in the way it looks. You know what I mean? And not just, it's like, just do the work. Just do it. You know what I mean? So
that's something that I'm actively working on too.
But you know what? I would even say, I think as Black people, I think sometimes we know what it stems from. Yeah. But but I think we play around in surfaceness, if that's a word, I don't know, but you know what I mean. But I think we play around with surfaceness sometimes because it's a survival mechanism.
Yeah,
we've been taught it's putting on the face. How many poets and activists have talked about this? Like us putting on the face of, like, you know what I mean? And I think sometimes we can get so consumed though with it, like that, you know, it I don't know. It's just it's part of that thing where also, like, as Black people, people of color, people who've gone through repression can recognize that it's also, like, especially in our culture where it's just like people see it and they were like, I mean, like, you're such a superwoman, you're superhero, Black girl magic, and it's like it's all stemmed from this one thing that's causing, like, oppression and having to rise in, you know, because of, in spite of. And now, like, we're in this place where, I mean, we still fighting, but we're still like, all right, something is, like, unhealthy, like mentally going on that's not healthy, and like, let's push through. And I'm
this.
so glad that we're in that that space. I mean, I heard one of my Black girlfriends one time. She was like, she was talking about, she's like, I'm tired of being strong. It's about soft. I'm trying to be soft. You know what I mean? And I was just like, you know what? I feel that too. And honestly, as a Black man, I'm tired of being strong too. I'm tired of being like your definition of what masculinity means and all that. It's kind of like, and the thing is that all that crap is literally rooted in patriarchy. Like, it is literally rooted in it. Like, you know what I mean? So I'm just like, man, I'm tired. I can't keep up with that. Like, it's exhausting. It's exhausting.
Let me just live my self life. I'm here for it.
It is exhausting. I was talking about therapist the other day. I'm not gonna say the person's name, but I was talking about how I was talking about how people are trying to become and be, you know, this thing or whatever the case is, and, you know, becoming and unbecoming and all that stuff like that. And she was like, all of it sounds exhausting to me. She's a Black woman. She was like, all of that sounds exhausting. She's like, how about we just be? Can we just like be in the moment and just like be? You know what I mean? And I'm like, I don't know how to be. I'm trying to learn how to be. Like, all I know, you know what I'm saying? I was like, all I know how to do is survive. You know what I mean? It's, and like, it
plays into, like, our hustle mentality and all these things. Like, I'm the first person to be like, hey, you gotta hustle a little harder, but at the same time, I'm like, I'm tired, so
I'm like, I'm exhausted. And when she said, she's like, honestly, I think becoming and unbecoming, I think they're both exhausting. And I was just like,
she's good.
Damn, I'm like, that's really good.
I'm gonna put 5 on that. That was good. Right? That was good.
I thought so too. I was like, let's sip to that.
Yeah, I need to sip to that one, because that's just, can we just be?
Can we just be? You know, why do we have to be becoming or unbecoming or?
Wow,
it's too much, child.
No, that's that in the words itself. I'm gonna let it sit for a little bit.
Let it simmer.
And I'm gonna go back and probably journal on that. That was great. And so I know we keep coming back to Sojourn, but
please,
it's just, I felt like you have a very if I haven't had these conversations with you, I felt like just in watching, whoever made this has a voice, has something to say, and it's filling a void of voices that's not there. And then I think my next thought around that was like, how do you get to that point where you find your voice and like it's able to just share it so freely? So yeah, that's the question.
Oh, okay.
Like how did you find your voice, and how did you get to the point where you're ready to share?
So it's funny. It goes back to what we were just talking about. Actually, it just came to me. I'm gonna kind of rephrase your. Well, I'm gonna like nitpick at your question a little bit, because in a loving way. But it's, for me, I think that's the issue though. It's not about finding your voice. I think it's more so about believing that, being present and being like, this is my voice, and I'm being vulnerable. I'm exchanging something. So it's less about reaching this place of, let me find my voice, let me become.
Yeah,
that's becoming.
Right.
I became this thing.
Right.
And more about, I'm just being. I'm practicing being present. I'm practicing just being in it. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And intimately sharing
that.
Like, y'all, this is exactly where I'm at.
Right.
It's messy, it's ugly.
So then that comes with confidence as well, like to be able to be like, this is where I'm at, and this is my voice, and not only this is my voice, this is who I am.
Yeah.
Like, and I think that's like confidence, and just thinking through that. Also,
I don't think it's confidence.
You don't think it's confidence?
I think it's vulnerability.
Do you think you have to be confident to be vulnerable?
I think you have to be truthful to be. I think you have to be. I don't think that you have to be confident to be vulnerable. I think that you have to be. I think you have to be truthful. I think that you have to be rooted to truth.
That's good.
And truth is very important to me.
Yeah.
That is my. I want to be truthful. So many people in my life have lied to me and have gaslit me. That truth is something. I'm a Scorpio too, by the way. So truth is a big deal for us.
Yeah.
Like. But truth is very important to me.
Yeah.
And if you ain't got truth, you ain't got shit.
Right.
You ain't got nothing. You know what I'm saying? If your word is not truthful, what do you got?
Right.
You know what I'm
That's
saying?
all you got. Yeah.
So for me being truthful and wanting to be a truthful, when I pray to God about being a director, it's not about trying to necessarily be the best. I want to be effective. I want to be truthful.
Right.
And I want to be honest.
That's
now,
good.
I will say, sometimes I'm truthful to a fault, and it sometimes the truth can have me so much in a death grip that, like, because sometimes I get caught up in like, well, how can I be of service and be the person that is out here doing this thing if I feel like I haven't really, I'm not being truthful. I don't really know. You know what I'm saying? So sometimes it can be to a fault. It can mess me up.
I can see that.
But I'm learning to be present. I'm learning to just be like, hey, however I show up, I'm good. I'm three things. I am a child of God, I am love, and I'm a creator. So those are the three things that I am at any given moment.
That's good.
I'm that if I'm on the couch saying beautiful things and having a beautiful conversation with you, and I'm that if I'm still love if I go outside and someone cuts me off and I say on accident F you, and then I apologize, I'm still love though. My essence is love though. You know what I'm saying? I apologize, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have said that to you, but you know what I'm saying? So I'm kind of like learning like radical like love. Like I'm in the process of learning that.
Right.
I haven't learned it. I'm in the process of learning what that means. You know what I'm saying? So going back to your original question about like having the confidence, I don't think I necessarily have confidence. I think that I am driven by truth, and I think that I want to be vulnerable, as vulnerable as possible. Because by me sitting up here lying, that don't help nobody out.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
And I think sometimes it's performative too. Like, so like people who, to go back to the term that you're like, I'm just am. But for some people it is like, you're like finding something. And maybe if we just said like presenting who you are or being honest and truthful with who you are, then this journey of discovering self and discovering your art voice. Because I think from my experience from film school, like everybody was just in this like thing, also kind of like performing, trying to tell the right story in the right way to get the right attention, and then it just start feeling like I think contrived, and you get detached from that thing that you're trying to do. So I like that what you said. That was good.
Thanks. I mean, it's been a journey. It again, the whole theme of this conversation is journey and service, and it's just, it's a lot. It is. You know what I'm saying? I do. Yeah. I mean, I don't want to take too much time, but yeah.
Yeah. So like for you, if you're talking to someone who's like, I want to be a director, I don't know the first step. What would you throw to them in that moment?
Run. Go be an accountant. Do you know how to count? Do you know how to count? Because if you do, go be an accountant. Go be an astronaut. Go be the president of the United States. Oh my gosh. Don't be a director. I'm joking. What's the question again? What is your advice for someone who's not listening to any of that but wants to be a director? Give me a second to ponder that. Because, man, you stumped me. That's a great question. I guess you stumped me because I respect the job so seriously, and I think there's a lot of people who want to be directors. I hear a lot of people saying they want to be directors. Every actor is a director. Shout out to the actors that are great directors and that are doing the work. I know. You threw me for a loop a little bit. I was like, and I should have known you was gonna ask that question. Anyways, I would say that I would flip the question on them. I'd say, what type of director do you want to be? Do you want to be an effective, great director that is disruptive and affecting change, or do you want to just be a cog in the wheel? Which one? Because there are two different types of directors. And if like, they said, all the people that are watching would say, I want to be a disruptive, amazing, that type of director. Yeah. Okay, cool. I'm glad you said that, because now I can give you my honest answer. I don't know how to be the other director. Right. If that person asked that question, you got to go ask somebody else. Right. Matter of fact, there's a lot of people you can ask. A lot. Right. I'm not gonna get in trouble for naming no names. Don't do that. I'm not gonna do that.
Because it will be a social media clip. No.
Exactly. Because I'm not trying to have a viral moment. I'm not. Anyways, but I can answer the question for the director that I am, and I would say you better be ready for a life of servitude, because the job is a service. I think that directors are prophets. I think that I think that when you are doing the job correctly and you are aligned with God, or if you don't believe in God, a higher power of some sort, something that is greater than you, whatever that is. Right. Maybe it's you. Maybe it's just, maybe it's the thing inside you. I don't know. But I think that when directors are really in that frequency, when they really in their bag, and they got it firing on all cylinders, it's a very spiritual investment. It's a very spiritual routine. It reminds me of almost like a reading about priests in the Bible or whatever, and how very priestly, very there's a rhythm to it. But there's also it's a rhythm, but it's a not a formality, but it's a ritual.
Right.
It's a ritual. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It's a ritual that one partakes in, I think.
Yeah.
And so it's a lifelong service, lifelong job of service.
Yeah.
And so you got to be ready for that, because you're of service to the crew, you're of service to the cast, you're of service to all your investors, you're of service to the audience.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
The audience or whatever. Who's it for?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? You're of service to the greater audience, even the people that maybe are just the passerbyers. Those people too. You wanted to get those people too. You know. So it's a job of service. And again, this is why I keep referring to my dad being a pastor and it being I'm very pastoral. I'm not a pastor.
Yeah.
I am pastoral.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And
it's a gifting.
It's a gifting.
Yeah.
And it's on me. And
Yeah.
I'm finally at the point where I am not afraid of it. I used to be sort of afraid of the gifting and afraid of like my story and all that stuff like that. No, baby, it's on me. The anointing is on me. And just like it's on you with the podcast, you know what I'm saying? That's why we've come together, and it's magic. It's this fireworks,
right? Exactly.
We both are in our lanes,
right?
You know what I'm saying? And we're both in our bag.
Yeah, and it's outside the four walls of church.
Yes,
it doesn't have to be. It is part of our purpose and who we are and what we.
And it's our ministry.
Yeah,
that's what it is.
Yeah,
and so that is what I would say to someone who's trying to be a director.
That's good.
You'll learn about the shots and all that stuff is. Matter of fact, I don't even want to say you'll learn as if like when you learn you have it. You will always be learning about different shots, about movies, about go watch this director, go watch this director for that. Like that's an ever evolving door.
You're always learning in this industry. I want people to know that it's not like you'll reach this peak of now I know everything to know about this. No, you're gonna always
be learning those technical things. And those technical things will always be there. You'll always know how to turn on a Red or an Alexa Mini or and technology changes too. The one thing that doesn't change is that service though.
Yeah.
That's that servitude that you know what I'm saying? People ask me all the time, "Oh, who's your favorite director?" I have directors that I like. I don't really have a favorite director though.
Yeah.
A lot of the people that I aspire to be and look up to are people like I love TD Jakes. I love Malcolm X. I love Martin Luther King. I like figures. Like I like activists. I like poets. People
remind me
like
of
that.
A film professor I had, Haile Garima at Howard University. He was just always like, you have to read all the arts and the sciences and subjects outside of film to like know what you're talking about a lot of times. Exactly. And to create characters and to create these worlds. And those are the people who are going to influence your art most of the time. Yeah.
Exactly. It's really it is the directors. I love Steven Spielberg. I love Barry Jenkins. I love Steve McQueen. PTA is great. You know what I mean? I love Douglas Sirk of back in the day. He did all the melodramas. He created the melodrama. All of those sappy films. I don't think melodramas are sappy necessarily. I love melodramas. I do. Melodrama. I do. Yeah. I do. I think the word melodrama has a sort of like a negative connotation.
Yeah, I agree.
But I love some of those movies.
Yeah.
Did you ever see that film, beautiful film by Douglas Sirk? what is it called? Imitation of Life.
Yes.
The second one, not that first one.
Yeah, the second one. Yeah,
that one with Lana Turner.
Yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
That one there. I mean, that brilliant. I mean, I remember being a kid, being like, "She don't want to be black. What?
What is happening?
What's going on, Mama?" You know what I mean? Like it just.
I remember watching. I think I watched that for the first time when I was older, like in college or something.
Yeah.
And I was just like, this is what?
And just and the pomp and circumstance, Lana Turner walking around with them long trains on, and it's too much. It was amazing. It was beautiful. But yeah, so I'm influenced by a lot of things, and a lot of directors, but I think a lot of the people that really that I look up to and aspire to are usually people that are not even in the field.
Yeah. So yeah. That's good. That's really good.
Yeah.
I feel like we probably gonna have more conversations in the future because this is just too good to me. But and I'm like, I can go on forever. But one thing I like to do is to do takeaways from our conversation, and our producer has been typing them up as we go.
Okay.
I hope so. So I'm gonna pull it up.
I've been hearing them keys.
You heard the keys going?
Clickety clack, click, click, click. I've been hearing them. Yep.
So, key takeaways. Number 1, as a filmmaker, your internal well-being is just as important as your technical skills. Mm-hmm. Go ahead, girl. That was good. You were listening. He did say it. You did say it. And I think that's important. Like you referred to your therapist. I was talking to a young lady who was saying she wants to be in this industry, but she also wants to be able to focus on her well-being, and she sees a therapist. Would she be able to like work as a PA in the industry? And I was like, yes. And if you tell people, I was like, we like therapy. So if you go and you're like, I have this on Thursdays at this time,
we're going to encourage you to go.
We're going to encourage you to go.
Absolutely.
And that's so important. That's so important. Mm-hmm. Honor your journey and your process. That's takeaway number 2. Mm-hmm. Honor your journey and your process. Yeah. Takeaway number 3. You don't have to be perfect to be ready. Yes.
Yep.
You don't. I'm still learning that. Listen, I have put out like one of these podcasts when the sound falls out and I'm losing my mind and I can't fix the sound. And I was like, it's not about you. It's the fact that you did it. Right. Like I'm really like hyping myself up. Like it's all right. Somebody's going to get the message. Yeah. And you just learn next time that it's not going to be that way.
That's a hard one.
It's hard. It's so hard. It's so hard. And you're just like, I'm better than that, people. But you don't have to be perfect.
And low key, we know.
Yeah.
We know.
Yeah.
The people that really matter, we know.
Yeah.
We know that you
know,
are good people.
Right. Exactly.
We know you college educated.
It's like I need to know that y'all know that I know.
Exactly.
And we're working through it. Mm-hmm. Number 4, it's less about finding your voice and more about being who you truly are and sharing that with others. Mm-hmm. And that one for me was a really good one that you said.
Because I got one more thing to say about finding your voice. Because finding your voice, you'll be looking for that forever.
Listen,
it's like we as humans, we always find reasons to be like, I ain't found my voice yet. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. It's like, and this is like, I'm kind of shocking myself. I'm like, who is this? Who's talking? Because like, I know I be sweating at the house, you know, about trying to find my voice sometimes. You know, you know how you have your days. Where
Yeah,
you're
of
like,
course.
I don't have my voice, and well, you know, but it's kind of like it's just. You could spend a lifetime finding your voice.
Yeah. But you are who you are.
But you are who you are.
Who said that? You are who you are, player. I forget what that was. Is that Jay-Z? Or whatever.
Sound like maybe something he would say. Mm-hmm.
Number 5, directing is a job of service. You're serving your audience, your crew, your cast, etc. Mm-hmm. So if you're going to be a disruptor director, then knowing that you're going into a life of service.
Life of service.
That is beautiful. That's beautiful. If we wanted to find you on Instagram or on social media, how could we find you?
On Instagram, I am Jonathan Aubrie Lewis. Aubrie is Aubrie. Jonathan is Jonathan. in Lewis's. We all know how to spell Lewis, right?
And it's on the lower third, just in case y'all.
Exactly. So yeah, that's my social media. I don't have Twitter. I have a Facebook, but I'm never on it. So
Right.
if you're trying to catch up with me, you're trying to find me, catch me on IG.
I love that. Thank you so much. Thank you. This was wonderful.
Amazing. I also just want to say really fast to the people and everything. This was amazing. It was amazing. Twilla is amazing. If you haven't met her, if you're just someone who tunes in and watches, like, continue to tune in and watch, because I've talked to a lot of people. I have had a lot of moments like this. Some people are fake behind the scenes. She's the real deal.
Oh, thank you.
She really is a good people, and guess what? Her people are good people. I'm looking at them. You can't see them, but they good people. So this is a good place. This is good soil. Okay.
Thank you so much. Thank you for that.
No worries.
I'm gonna almost tear up, but I'm not gonna tear up right now.
Okay, cut the cameras off.
Don't take me to
Cut the camera off.
Thank you so much for watching. Make sure you like and subscribe. Remember, we are everywhere where podcasts are. You can listen everywhere you listen to podcasts. That's what you can do. Until next time.